All right, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, as always, we go give all honor, praise, and glory to
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakwadash.
and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach where we learned this truth from. And may peace, mercy, and blessings be upon the hopeful elect that believe in this truth and sincerity. We the brothers from the JMS Cleveland branch coming back to the spirit, power, and mercy of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And Lord willing, this be an edifying live stream. You know, as the title reads, how did the Israelites become Greek? How did the Israelites become Greek? Which the answer to that is found within the scriptures, you know, and also in secular history, which lines up with the scriptures, you know, and namely inside of the Apocrypha, you know, which you will only have to understand it first and foremost if it's given unto you by the Holy Spirit, and on top of that, if you going into the scriptures, you know. But if your brother can start with that Jeremiah 17:4. You know, because in every captivity, you know, Jake knew that they was Jake, of course, except for in America. But even prior to America, okay, namely the Greek Empire, some Israelites was forced to stop knowing that they was Israelites, as we're going to get into.
This is Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. It says, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
So the Lord told Jeremiah he would discontinue from his heritage. I mean, he would stop knowing he was an Israelite. He would stop knowing the true power, the law, statutes, commandments that was given unto us, so on and so forth. Now, we see the fullness of that here in America, okay, as a result of what happened during chattel slavery, when our language is beaten out of us and our customs and so on and so forth. But once again, these things started to take place prior to America, going back to the Greek Empire, okay, during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes' name. We're about to go to that
First Maccabees.
Yeah, First Maccabees.
All right, this book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, and I'll start at verse 7. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, every one in his place.
Yeah, but that Alexander, what people know him today is Alexander the Great, or the Greek, but he was actually a Macedonian. He was actually an Edomite, you know. But nonetheless, he is a biblical figure, and also you can look him up if you type it in Google, showing you that the secular history lines up with the Bible.
Okay. All right. This verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them. Many years.
Because it said it mentioned his servants, but that was talking about his generals. You know, he had a few generals, but the scriptures focus on 4.
Yep.
Okay, you had Lysimachus, you had Seleucus, you had Ptolemy, you had Cassander.
Yep. It says many years and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Yep. So from the time period of the Greek Empire, when you had Alexander the Great rule, and then when he died, his generals, they came in and they split his kingdom into 4 parts, if you will. That's when evils was multiplied in the earth. And why was evils multiplied in the earth? Because the actual seed of the wicked, the sons of the wicked, you know, the Bible going to 3 classifications of men. The sons of the wicked was in power. And the scripture tell you how when if a brother could go there and say when the wicked are multiplied, you know, something about transgression increasing. It's in the book of Proverbs 29:16.
Right. Because the main tool that it really even focuses on with the whole Alexander, you know, and his those who he gave power to, the main 4, you had 2 out of 4 that the scriptures really put focus on, which is the Ptolemaic Empire and the Seleucid Empire. You read Daniel 11, it goes into the different wars, you know, that those 2 empires had with one another, and the different little acts that took place, you know, with the between the Edomite families. So even in between those 2, you know, empires alone, the different atrocities and wickedness that took place just for power, you know, just to obtain power. You know, scriptures show you that.
And those wars is classified as the 6 Syrian wars. You know, which, like you said, took place between Ptolemy, his empire, the Ptolemaic Empire, and Seleucus and his empire. You know, the Seleucid Empire, the king of the north and the king of the south. What got that in Proverbs?
I got it.
This is Proverbs chapter 29, verse 16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increases.
You see, when the wicked are multiplied, when they come into power, they get a chance to rule and enforce they ways. Okay, transgression increases. Another word for transgression is sin, which is synonymous with rebelliousness against the Most High, and that's evil. That's wickedness. So that's why it said, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Because from that point on, you had the wicked ruling, and they was pushing forth the vibration of transgression, the laws, of transgressing the law, statutes, and commandments.
But the righteous shall see their fall.
Yep. And you had, okay, a righteous remnant during that time, okay, that was able to see the downfall of Antiochus Epiphanes, okay, just to see his death. And you're going to have righteous in this time that's going to see the downfall of the Greeks today, okay, of the Romans today, the Edomites today. You know, go back to that first Maccabees and Buzz and down there.
No, yeah, you definitely gotta keep going with that.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes.
Yeah, which Antiochus, he came from the Seleucid,
Right.
you know, from Seleucus, okay, the Seleucid Empire.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's the eighth.
The fourth. Antiochus the fourth.
Epiphanes is the fourth.
Okay. It says Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king,
Which that's Antiochus the third, of course, also known as Antiochus the Great.
who had been an hostage at Rome. And he
going to that secular history of that, the 11th chapter, which you mentioned, the 16 wars, because he was taken as a hostage for not paying, not paying the Romans.
Yeah, which you can look it up, like it says, Lazo's secular history is known as the Treaty of Apamea. You know, which it caused the reign of Seleucid king for his son to be a hostage to the Roman Empire.
Yep. And that's a cut to those who don't believe that the Apocrypha is canon, because it's letting you know what lines up with history when you look it up on Google or Wikipedia, man.
Yep.
Go ahead.
it says, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
And this right here was actually, for brother go to Daniel the 8th chapter. You know, we're talking about the he-goat, and then we're gonna jump down because this was actually prophesied to happen. You know, also show you that the scriptures is alive. And before you grab that, somebody go to Isaiah 34, I think it's 16. You know, so they said no one of these shall fail, because everything that's written in the scriptures, okay, is quick. You know, meaning it's alive. Some things took place already. Some things are happening now. And some things gonna take place in the future.
It's Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16. It says, "Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read."
What's the book of the Lord? The Holy Bible. Holy means separate, and Bible meaning books. Okay, the books that was set apart from all the other wayward books and doctrines out there. This is what you're supposed to be focused on. What's written within here.
No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate.
He said, "No one of these shall fail." Talk about what? The prophecies. Everything that's written within the scriptures is going to eventually happen if it hasn't happened already. That's why Yahushua said, he said, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but all my words shall be fulfilled." Roughly paraphrasing.
It says, "For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them."
You see, because the mouth, the spirit of the Lord is behind all of this. It's behind the visions that the prophet saw, and it's also behind the prophecies themselves being fulfilled upon the planet Earth.
This Daniel chapter 8 and verse 8. It says, "Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones towards the four winds of heaven."
You know, which that he-goat is dealing with the Grecian Empire. You know, it said it waxed great, you know, and when it was strong, talk about at the height of Alexander ruling, okay? Because when you read in First Maccabees, the first chapter, talk about how the earth was quiet before him, okay? Which that's after he didn't conquer all that land. Said they tell you that he was conquered so much, and then once he got to the end of his conquering, he started to cry because he couldn't conquer no more. Yeah. So at that point, that's when he died, you know, and then that's when his kingdom was divided or parted unto his servants, his generals.
Yeah, and just adding to you, that horn also represents power.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay. It says, Verse, you want to keep reading?
Yeah, kind
This verse 9. It says, and out of one of them,
read verse 8 again.
kind. Daniel 8 and 8. It says, therefore the he goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones towards the four winds of the heaven.
And the four notable ones is talking about his four generals.
Okay.
It links up with the four wings in Daniel the 7th chapter.
And that proves again that the Bible and the Apocrypha are canon. They go hand in hand because this is literally a precept for what we just read in First Maccabees 1.
Okay. And it reads, it says, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great.
Yeah, with this little horn right here is not the same as the little horn in Daniel the 7th chapter. This little horn is to talk about the wicked root that we read about in First Maccabees the 1st chapter. Okay, namely Antiochus Epiphanes the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a title, so to speak. Like you said, you gave him that title also, a wicked root, but it's both referring to Antiochus the 4th, Epiphanes.
Okay. It says, wax exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land.
So let's talk about the land masses
Yep.
that he would conquer. Okay, towards Egypt, towards Armenia, and towards the pleasant land. With the pleasant land is what? Talking about Israel.
Yep.
And who was dwelling in Israel? The Israelites.
Yep.
And we're gonna get into what he did during him waxing great.
It says, and it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them.
Yep, and that's going into him putting hell upon Jake,
Yep.
putting Jake to death, causing them to forsake the ways. How about Shema Shah to forsake the covenant and to eat abominable foods? That's him waxing great even to the host of heaven and casting them down. Because when you cast down, that means you are brought to a very low state.
Kind. It says,
you can jump down to verse 21.
kind. When you jump down to verse 21, it reads, it says,
So like you can actually keep going just a little bit more.
kind. So verse
Daniel 8 and 11.
kind. This Daniel 8 and 11, it says, yeah, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
Yeah, I should
Back to
have
First Maccabees.
grabbed my sword. You're right, because there was more than one account of we were reading about the daily sacrifice being taken away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that happened once under the Greeks and also under the Romans.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That took place. That and we're gonna get back into it into the First Maccabees, but you know what I'm saying, we're really reading about that count here. Go ahead.
And if I could add, because the prince of the host is talking about the high priest at that time.
Right.
Which the high priest at that time, it was Onias.
Yep.
It was.
No, I ain't talking about that. I'm saying, I was thinking about the wicked high priest. I'm saying he wasn't wicked. Onias wasn't wicked.
Yeah, so and that's him waxing great against the high priest was him coming in, okay, and stopping the daily sacrifice.
That's right.
He's stopping Jake from doing what he was doing, keeping our customs, our ways.
And eventually going into the temples and taking things from the altars and, just being a wicked devil that he is, man.
Kind. So with all that, like the brother's going to, when you see all this taking place, it means you seeing somebody taking everything from the people you taking. That's the part of like we open up. You know what I'm saying? That's the falling away. You start to see how a nation is being stripped of identity,
Right.
stripped of who they are, stripped of who they are as a people.
Right.
Yep, kind. Come on, there we go. So it says verse 12. It says, for Daniel 8 and 12. It says, I'm gonna keep reading right here.
You can, if you want to, you can. Then you can jump down for the
Kind. This Daniel 8 and 12. It says, and the host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. And it was cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
You know what? He was allowed. The Lord allowed him to set up abominations. To talk about the abominations that make it desolate. That happened twice. That happened during the Greek Empire and also during the Roman Empire. Just like the daily sacrifice was taken away twice.
Okay.
So that allowed the Lord allowed him to prosper in that practice.
Okay.
As we're gonna read in First Maccabees.
Kind of jump down to 21 now. And it reads, it said Daniel 8 and 21, and it said,
because the angel, it was times when the prophet was receiving these visions, sometimes the understanding was given unto them. Okay, certain parts was broken down, sometimes it wasn't. But here in this vision that Daniel received, it was broken down unto him.
okay. And going into it, this is Daniel 8 and 21, and it reads, it says, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
And who was the first king of the Greek Empire? Alexander the Great. Just go back to that first Maccabees.
God, this is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, and verse 12. It says, verse 11. It says, in those days when they're out of Israel, wicked men. In those days when out of Israel, wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
And for brother on the whole, Isaiah 9 and 16. So at that time that Antiochus Epiphanes came into power, okay, it said when they're out of Israel, which the Israelites, the true Hebrew Israelites, is a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American man. But at that time, it was just the so-called Negroes, the African, so-called African American man, woman, and child, of course, and the so-called West Indian and so-called Haitian. They were the ones that was predominantly in the land at that time. And at that time, you had wicked men, wicked leaders, okay, that was persuading the rest of our people, the wicked of our people, to follow after the customs that was being practiced and prospering at the time.
It says, verse 12.
It's like Isaiah 9.
Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16. For the leaders of this people caused them to err.
You see, and it was always wicked leaders amongst our people. Just as you got wicked niggas today, whether it be in a plantation Christianity church, whether it be in Islam, whether it be in rap culture, whatever it is, Jake that's teaching Jake, the wicked niggas of our the so-called celebrities and people of high status, the ones that's teaching our people to do things against the scriptures, they the same spirits from back then.
And that's the spirit off camera. We was talking about Micah 7.
Bro,
in that chapter, it talked about the most upright of them is like a rear among the thorns or something like that.
It said the best of them is as a briar.
That's the body of us outside. So yeah, like even like your TD Jakes, the people who pretend to be outwardly pious, inwardly they wicked as hell, and they strain you away from your how about outside.
Yeah, that's all the scriptures have to let Jay know, like all Israel ain't Israel. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody ain't gonna follow the customs of Yahweh Shema. Ain't nobody gonna show you the right way. You got Jake that's out for their own belly, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Jake trying to fill their own belly. Jake, they out for their own gain. They ain't out for the betterment of Israel. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's so important to give your mind to the leaders of Israel, beginning with our apostles and elders of the great millstone, that break down the scriptures directly and correctly.
You know that we say blind leaders of the blind.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Isaiah 9:16 again. For the leaders of this people cause an error, and they that are led of them are destroyed.
And that's something that's been happening. That's a recurring thing. Every time there will be wicked leaders set up, the wicked of our people follow those wicked leaders, and in the end, they will be destroyed. Because as we're going to read, you had the niggas persuading many to follow after this, to wear hats and the gymnos and so on and so forth. But guess what? Even after that, Antiochus Epiphanes still was putting niggas to death.
Yep. Kind. And just for this point, I'm going to start at 13. You know what I'm saying? It says, this is Matthew 15 and 13, but he said, but he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father have not planted shall be rooted up, because they're going to be destroyed. Like the brother just said. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that ain't out to do the business of Yahweh Shema, was shopping you out with a ulterior motive or trying to do it another way or go up another way, going to be rooted up in the end. It said, but verse 14, it says, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. It says, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into a ditch. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's gonna happen. And that ditch, that's destruction. You know what I'm saying? So you following the people that ain't you following men that the Lord ultimately haven't really set up, following after the things that they're teaching, and you won't see these things coming to pass. So they teach you bullshit. They're not teaching you 100% doctrine. The same ditch that they're gonna follow to is the same ditch you're gonna follow to following them. Okay.
You go back to
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 12. It says, so this device pleased them well.
A device, this invention, this thought process, this plan, this plot, they thought it was okay to be forsaking how about Shema Shah and following after the ways of the Edomite, of the heathen. Just as niggas do today. When niggas cutting their beards and shaving their heads and dressing up like women, okay, and putting a woman over them, they think it's okay because this was all promoted and forwarded by our oppressors. Okay, the self-proclaimed white man, the Edomite, they think it's okay. They said this device pleased them well.
Verse 13, then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
Which another word for license is a permission.
Yep.
Mm.
And it's too, like brother said. So he said gave permission, what said license to go and to learn the ways of the heathen. So it's showing you that they're now beginning to learn another way that's contrary to the ways that they've been brought up into.
And that's how you know that it's talking about the heathen, because like just how Esau do today, like if you got a factory or some type of workforce, you got to have the inspectors come through and make sure this ain't dirty or you know what I'm saying. So Esau, he always, he licensed the Israelites to be able to do those things. That's also a part of them being Hellenized, them going into that covenant.
Yeah, because it is in the word covenant. Yeah, because a covenant is an agreement.
Yep.
A contract.
Mm-hmm.
A promise.
A promise, yeah. Hey, a bond. It says verse
13, right?
14. It says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, right? Going back to that word gymnasium. When you go into that word, it means to be naked. And once again, referencing, you got to reference it to, this empire, this current empire,
Right. That's why, adding to the brother's point, it's important to understand concepts like regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
Because these same spirits
Right.
coming back. That's why you go to Planet Fitness and you see an old ass Edomite, butterball ass naked.
That's right.
Yeah, that is true though.
Yep.
Damn locker rooms, motherfucker, down to the damn bone.
Yeah.
And shit, you even seeing it to the point now, for real, not to jump off topic, but you seeing it to the point now when you go into these gyms, the motherfuckers that's in the gyms, you be like, these motherfuckers literally, they damn their ass naked working out. You be like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where the fuck your clothes at? You know what I'm saying? Like, real shit.
Women.
Yeah,
exactly. Because would they be having on tight ass clothes, leggings, and like you say, even the men be wearing leggings.
Yeah, bro.
Like, that's doing one of them tight ass clothes. It's the same as being naked.
Yep.
Right. Which all of that goes back to what we read in the Greek Empire.
Yep.
In the same way, Jake was conditioned into those customs after generations. Jake then been conditioned to those customs after generations today.
Yep.
We read about that in the Willie Lynch letter.
Yep.
To a certain extent.
And that's why that's why I say understanding like the thing with the Gentiles, like that's why the Lord said, we said how y'all become strange and degenerate plant. Like because of these things, that's how the nation of Israel has become strange looking to the Most High. That degenerate plant that he talks about in the scripture, because Jake is no longer what? Because like the brother reader, Jake entered into a whole new covenant with the heathen. You know what I'm saying? Instead of sticking to the covenant that the Yahweh Shah made with us. Yeah. That's why you see Jake in the condition that they're in, because we broke the covenant when Yahweh Shah went into a covenant with a bunch of fucking heathen. And like, cause that's what the scriptures say. It said, learn not the ways of the heathen. Right. We weren't supposed to learn the ways of the heathen. You know what I'm saying? That's always the you got as a one.
Yeah, and just bringing it back full circle to the precept that we opened up with, Jeremiah 17:4, that was a part of us falling away.
Yep.
Which I'm quoting a different scripture. That was a part of us discontinuing from our heritage. But we did have to fall away first. All right. And I had a precept just backing up the one that you just grabbed, Shemot. This is Ecclesiastes 15:18. It says, for the wisdom of the Lord is great, and he is mighty in power, and beholdeth all things. And his eyes are upon them that fear him, and he knoweth every work of man. And that was going to that conversation we was having about the Lord being omnipresent. All right. It says, verse 20, this is the point though. He have commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin. So just because man at that time gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen, the Lord, on the contrary, said, yeah, he have given no man license to sin. During the Greekish, the Greek Empire, you had, like you brothers pushing gymnasium or which goes into being naked, exercising and so on and so forth. That's really when our people started adopting the full customs of the heathen, in regards of the alphabet community. You know what I'm saying? And doing things that's contrary to the ways of the Lord.
Yep.
You know, and so here it is. The Lord said that He given no man license to sin or to do wickedly, man. And so who you supposed to follow? It says in the book of Acts, the 5th
Yes.
chapter, that we ought to obey the Most High and not man.
Yes.
All right. Want to back you up real quick. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 2. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen,
Mhm.
and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
Yep.
Right? Our peoples are tripped up into astrology and all of the thing. Literally every avenue of the idols of the heathen, our people go run into it, man.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
So even all the way down to these pagan holidays that these
Yep.
devils they get ready to celebrate. And Jake, and it's the thing about it, like it's the wicked inventions of these devils, but Jake partaking on them more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Jake, like you said, Jake go all out for these damn costumes.
Yeah.
Jake go all the way for the meals.
Mm-hmm.
Jake go all out for all this shit. You know what I'm saying? But it show you like that's how they learn the ways of the heathen. You know what I'm saying? And then when you even go into these things, you see where these things originate from. And you'll fuck around and show Jake where they originate from, but Jake ain't finna come up off of it.
No, because it's a tradition. It's like it's a tradition of
Yep.
man.
Yep.
And just adding to your statement that you know, pretty much that was going back to the what you just said about learning not the way of the heathen. You know, this is why the Lord really jacked us up as a nation.
Right.
You know, and put us in captivity because He given them over to their reprobate mind.
Ooh.
You know, He allowed them to do it. Here it is. You got your children saying, I can do better, or I can go about trying to establish my own form of righteousness. Well, the Lord just pretty much allowed these heathens to do whatever they want us to do to us, man.
Mm-hmm.
And even until this very day.
Mm.
Hold on, real quick.
Okay.
Take your statement up.
Yeah, just real quick, based on what brother's saying, the scriptures let us know this. The scriptures make us privy to things like that because the scriptures let us know, like Jake is wise to do evil. Jake has declared their sins as Sodom. You know what I mean? And even in the book of Psalms, like, you know, we're mingled among the heathens and you know, learn some of their ways. And that's why it's important to understand the concept of the Gentiles too, because it's the natural heathens and then it's Israelites who were adopting heathen customs. And the Lord deemed us the same as Gentiles, what the scriptures say, no hand-to-hand joint with the wicked, you know, altogether it should not go unpunished.
Right. I got a quick definition. It's the term Hellenist in the Sunderban Bible Dictionary. It says Jews who made Greek their tongue and with it often adopted Greek ideas and practices.
Yep.
So just like the precept the brother brought out in Jeremiah 10 and 2 about learn not the way of the heathen, well, you had some of our people who like we just read, 1 Maccabees 1 and 10, and there came out of them. So like, I'm going to start down verse 11, 1 Maccabees 1 and 11, and in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many. So you had men of our own nation, okay, who went about trying to persuade many, all right, to leave off from following the customs of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And like it says, saying, let us go and make a covenant, an agreement, a confederate with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. And so trying to re-enjoin themselves back to, all right, these Edomites, all right, picking up, again, adopting their Greekish ideas and practices, all right, and fashions, and their tongue as well. You see what I'm saying? To the point to where they no longer wanted to serve at the altar. They despised the work of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and loving the honor of the Grecians best of all. That's all found in the Apocrypha, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Who was reading? So go ahead.
You want me to go back to First Maccabees? Alright, First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse
chapter 1.
This book of First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 14. It says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
And it's just one of the many things that Jake was doing. Because Jake was also having orgies, you know, and so on and so forth. And they was allowed to do these things. Why? Because the heathen, namely the Edomites, was ruling at that time, and they was giving Jake permission to do these things.
And it's the same thing today. You know, it's the same thing today. You know, a couple years back, they were trying to have the world's largest orgy in Vegas, and they failed, you know, because they couldn't get enough participants, but it was still a couple thousand that still showed up, man. You know, and, you know, it's the same people ruling today. These Edomites rule back again today, ruling and ultimately trying to persuade our people to leave from off of following righteousness, man.
Right.
Go ahead.
And so you about to say something? Quan?
No, I'll just say, brother,
Yeah.
go ahead, keep reading.
And then another thing too, you know, if I may add, because just like the elder Squan just went into the word Hellenist, like when you realize like this is how they're being Hellenized. They not only are they being given, or not only are they given license to sin, but they're being persecuted for righteousness too. You know what I'm saying? Because in the same chapter, they're not able to circumcise the babies. They start hanging the women and the babies for if they tried to keep the customs. It was certain shit that Jake couldn't practice righteousness. You either gonna get down with wickedness, you know what I'm saying, or you're gonna get put to death for the righteousness that you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to add that. You know what I'm saying? You got it.
And then you always had, for that term brothers like to use, you know, secret disciples. You know, you always had Israel still, or you had Israelites back then who would still, you know, give homage, all right, to Yahweh Shema Shah, but have to do it under secrecy.
Yeah,
Just like similar now, we can't, like it says that in the Maccabees that neither could they at all profess themselves to be a Jew, you know, because like you said, they'd get put to death. Well, it's similar today, man. You know, they started to come against the Bible. All right. I remember when the nigga Kanye came out talking about the Israelites and how they tried to shut him up and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, you had Israelites who would still secretly, all right, keep the high holy days such as the Sabbath and or worship Yahweh Shema Shai, man.
Right.
Go ahead, bro.
Verse 15. And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief.
You see how you say that? Because we were talking about it earlier on campus, the circumcision. He said they made themselves uncircumcised by what? Practicing wickedness, doing the things that the heathen were doing. That's how they made themselves uncircumcised. So it's showing you it wasn't a physical thing, it was spiritual. Because they're no longer practicing the spiritual things and practicing after the ways or following after the ways of Yahweh Shema Shai. It's the moment that they started to practice and indulge in wickedness that made them uncircumcised.
Right, because if you circumcised already, you can't uncircumcise yourself again.
Yeah, what you grew the skin back?
Right, you know what I'm saying? Right. So it can't be talking about physically.
Right.
And I got a precept to back you up what you just said. This is Colossians chapter 2, verse 11. It says, "In whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands."
Come on now.
In putting off the body of the sins of the flesh of the circumcision of Yahushua HaMashiach. So the same thing Israel was doing to make themselves uncircumcised, when you put those things off, that's what makes you circumcised. You know, in the mind, not in the sense of physically cutting off the foreskin of the rod, man.
Yep.
We're talking about as far as cutting off the things that are not beneficial to the spirit.
Yes.
Okay, mentally and physically and morally.
If I could add, like, you go back into the history, you know, when Abraham was circumcised, like, he was circumcised as an adult, but like the significance of that, it was like what came with it. You know, when we talk about circumcision, like the covenant and the promises attached to that. That's a very heavy thing. So that's why, like, you know, it started off as a physical thing, but it was always spiritual from the beginning. Like that signified a relationship between Yahweh Shema Shai and his people. So when we apply that spiritually, you know, about people being in the fold, that's what we keep in the back of our mind. The promises, these scriptures, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it was about faith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Kind of, where we at in that Maccabees?
Verse 41. Well, we jump down to verse 41.
Y'all jump down.
Yeah.
Can the brother grab real quick? Second Maccabees 6.
I got you.
That's the spirit. I was thinking 6 and 6.
You can start at like 5. Really, I was gonna say 1, but you can start at 5.
Where you want to start at?
Just 5.
All right. This is second Maccabees.
We'll be here too long.
The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbidded. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Right, because like the second Maccabees go into like more detail of the book of first Maccabees, all right, about different accounts that took place. All right, and this is really, you know, also still kind of going into that first Maccabees first chapter, you know, just wording it to a bit, you know, and going into more detail, wording it differently. Where you leave off at?
Verse 6.
Verse 6.
You read 6?
Read it again.
Yeah.
It's second Maccabees 6 and 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts,
Mm-hmm.
or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Right. So you call yourself an Israelite, or a Jew, then the decree was that you should be put to death. I was going to say that in the next couple verses.
Verse 7. And in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy.
Mm-hmm. And see, Bacchus, that's that partying spirit.
Mhm.
All that revelry and shit. The scriptures talk about that. You know what I'm saying? All the goddamn wild parties, even like the brother said, they were trying to do that. Like Swan said, they were trying to do that damn wild ass orgy in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? That's all that shit is incorporated. You feel what I'm saying? It's a bunch of lewd acts and partying. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same shit that Jake indulged in today's time. So it show you how it correlates. You got
Verse 8. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. So that's the scripture proving Hellenization.
Yep.
We're forced to take on the ways of the people that were ruling over us.
And that's heavy.
It is.
I was like, it's still in verse 7, and I had to go back to the previous chapter, and I believe that king that is talking about is Antiochus. All right, still, and the last verse of 2 Maccabees 5, and then carrying over into the 6th chapter. But it's heavy because it says, and in the day of the king's birth, every month. You typically only celebrate a birthday once a year.
Right.
But it said on that day. So let's say that day was on the 7th, or on the 5th, whatever. And every day, each month, they would have to, give reverence, so to speak, man.
Yeah.
It said that they were bought by bitter constraint, so even against their will to eat of the sacrifices. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, which you can look that up, you go into merrymaking, it go into reveling, it go into riotous, drinking, drunken spirit with music, frolicsome behavior. It says the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. It says, which a brother could look that up about ivy.
They would carry ivory to show their devotion to Bacchus.
That's what I was thinking. And if I was thinking, that's what they wrap around their head.
Yeah, because
those Greeks, they have that around their head.
You got a quick Google search. What does ivy represent? As such, ivy was often presented to the bride and groom as a symbol of everlasting life, devotion, fidelity, and loyalty. The Greeks also used it to make as a crown of Liber, the god of fertility, as well as poets and other muses.
That was all in correlation with Bacchus.
Yeah.
They bring the ivory. You had to bring the ivory.
Yeah.
Ivy.
And it's
ivy.
Yeah. And see, and everything that like the elder just read and the brothers just read, it show you. It's like you got to think about it, like right. So you get to having children, and now because we, like the brother was saying outside, me and Zaquan was talking off camera, we supposed to raise our children according to the law. So after so much of being suppressed and Hellenized by this one person and the wickedness that he's pushing throughout the kingdom or throughout the region that he's running, it becomes easy to forget yourself because now you're having children. Now you can't teach them your customs. But like you said, you're gonna be put to death. So now they're learning a new way. You know what I'm saying? And this is granted, over a course of time, you don't forget the old way because you're not allowed to practice in it.
Yeah. That's what it said. First Maccabees. Was y'all done in Second Maccabees?
No, that's a little bit more on the brother grabbing, and you got it right back.
Second Maccabees 6 and 9. And whoso will not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
Keep going.
Then might a man have seen the present misery.
Keep going.
But there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes hanging at their breast, they cast them down headlong from the wall.
Yep, that's what they did to them for finding out that they had circumcised their children. Keep going.
And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together.
Yeah, so they had to go into a cave. They eventually got discovered, but just to try to keep the Sabbath day secretly. And just going back to that statement, Israel, what I'm saying, had to try to operate under secrecy, similar to how we got to use code names, code words.
Yeah.
Even though we stand in great boldness now, because that's what the scripture speaks about now. But it was the same way back then, but even more harsh, man. Because if you was at all found you know, keeping custom, this is what they did to him, man.
Yeah.
You know, and they was just trying to, like I said, because they had made conscience to help themselves
Right.
for the honor of that most sacred day. You
Right.
know, trying to keep the high holy day, you know,
Right.
the Sabbath, man. And they got put to death for it. So this is why we call you a fucking devil, man. You know, we go back to that first Maccabees.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, and verse 41.
Yeah, because we read the second Maccabees, which second, like the elder said, second Maccabees is a more detailed look of what happens in first Maccabees. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got it.
It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
And we read a bit of that in second Maccabees 6, where it said he wrote to the neighbor cities of the heathen. You know, he was telling them all to come into the ways of the Greek.
Mm-hmm.
Just as America tells everybody
Right.
that comes into the
One
ways of westernization.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed, according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
So not only was the heathen consenting to the ways of the Edomite or the Greek, but also Jake that was dwelling in that land at that time. Go ahead.
And sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Shabbat.
You see, so that's what Jake consented to doing, sacrificing unto idols and profaning the Sabbath, which is many things that would stem just from doing those two alone.
Yeah.
And you want to say something? And that would bring a result if you could jump down to verse because it tell you the different things that they did. They forbid the burnt offerings, you know, and the different swine flesh they was offering upon the altar.
Yeah.
But it was going to result in a specific thing. Read verse 49.
Verse 49, it says, to the end they might forget the law.
You see, to the end, okay, that's what it will result in. To the end, they might forget the law. Then after generation, you had Israelites growing up not knowing nothing about the law.
Yep.
And that's why Psalms the 83rd chapter says what it says.
Yes.
About trying to cut us off from being a nation. You know, and that's been their MO and or their goal, agenda to do, all right, to try to cut us off. You know, we were just speaking about Proud Haman, you know, in the book
Yes.
of Esther.
Yep.
You know, his goal, and that's why we worship the Purim, you know, yearly to as a commemoration of the sacrifices that both Esther and Mordecai made on behalf of Israel, man. But also, you know, just using that as an example, man. Like he said, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. So his goal is to try to destroy us as a people. You see, and we now knowing this knowledge and understanding, all right, are supposed to operate within it, okay, and continue in these things, man. You want to keep going on that?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 49.
So there was a falling away. We fell from our first estate, you know, and had to go through different captivity to captivity. But now, all right, we're under the hands of these Edomites again, okay, and we're in a time period where we're coming back into knowing our heritage as who we are, all right. And so now that we know it, hey man, this truth is out. It ain't no more hiding it or making it a secret or so to speak, you know, because he did those things into us, and guess what? That was all a part of the prophecy for us to fall away and come back into this understanding, and ultimately for this Edomite man to be revealed. And now we're coming to the time where he's being both revealed and supposed to be taken down.
Right. Because now, if you are if you an Israelite by bloodline and if you try to pronounce that publicly, now that's called anti-Semitic. You know, which is indirectly, basically, illegally proclaiming to be a Jew, man.
Yeah.
You know, so eventually it's gonna be heavy persecutions for what we doing now. We reading about what the heavy persecution was during the Greek captivity. How much more for when the Lord said a time like no other, man.
That's when the scripture talks about being hated of all men for my name's sake.
Come.
And that's the time that's fastly approaching, which is going to be a test also for us too. All right, go ahead.
Verse 50. And whosoever will not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Yeah, And it's the same thing we read in 2 Maccabees 6. It got to the point where they influenced the Greek influence, okay, Antiochus Epiphanes, the Edomite influence was so heavy that they had it to where if you wasn't with their agenda, you had to go. And the same thing is about to happen today.
And if I could add to that too, and I leave the rest to y'all, is that we coming into that time now, of Revelation 13 and 16. And dealing with that MARK. And it's the same sentiments that whoever would not conform to it and take it is that he should be put to death. All right. And I just wanted to say that fear is a great motivator. And so here it is, they'll push fear, all right, hoping that that fear that you have would deviate you from your purpose, make you become what's the word? Not an apologist. What's the word?
Apostate.
Apostate. So what apostatize? When you apostatize the truth, you leave off from your religion. So they'll try to push fear, and that's why the Lord pushes fear as well. But in a righteous sense, a healthy dose of fear, so to speak, because like the scriptures say, fear not him that can destroy the body only, but fear him that can destroy both the body and the soul in hell. Or afterwards he is nothing else that he can do. All right. The Lord pushes fear as well on the right hand side, and that's why we're not to be swayed by these things when they come.
You got a precept. This Proverbs 29 and 25.
Because, like Ed said, fear is a great motivator. Right. And what the main way to scare somebody is telling them you're gonna kill them. Okay, tell them that you're gonna take their life if they don't do what you tell them to do. And that's what was taking place then. And the same thing about to take place now. And that's gonna cause a lot of people to consent, okay, to submit. Because like Satan told the Lord, he said, all that a man have, he will give for his life.
This Proverbs chapter 29, and verse 25. It says, the fear of man bringeth a snare.
But you having fear of what flesh can do unto you, that's going to cause you to be trapped into submitting to what that fleshly being is telling you to do.
Yep.
Whether it be to eat some goddamn pork or shrimp, whatever the case, but we know it's going to be telling you to take the CHIP. If you fear man, you're going to take it.
Yep. It says, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be saved.
Yep. And you read about that in the Maccabees. Okay, you had righteous Jakes, you had righteous Israelites that was being put to death, but you also had righteous Israelites that was being delivered. That's the balance. And that's the same thing going to happen today. Some brothers going to be beheaded for not fearing Esau, Edom, and submitting to his agenda, but some brothers going to be delivered and they're going to live to see the Lord return.
Yep. It's Proverbs 29 and 26. Matter of fact, just to add to it, because it's just like it was going to say, we was talking about Mordecai. Because he wouldn't, you got to realize, Haman put out a decree to, within a year's time, to kill all the Israelites that were in certain land masses. You know what I'm saying? He put out that decree. But guess what? The Lord was with them. They feared Yahweh Shah. Mordecai feared the Lord. He didn't fear a man. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't bow to that man. And see, guess what? The same trap that he ended up setting up for Jake was the one that he ended up being taken out by. And it's going to be the same thing here in these lot of times. You just got to understand, you got to church. They say the scriptures say what? Strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. And that's got to be Jake's mindset in these latter days. It says, Proverbs 29 and 26. It says, many seek the ruler's favor.
The ruler would be whoever is in power at that time. Going back to what we was reading, the Greek Empire was Antiochus Epiphanes. People wanted to be on his good side because they didn't want to get put to death. They didn't want to see their children getting put to death. It's the same thing now. People want to be on the self-proclaimed white man good side, so they go take the MOTD. They don't want to see their children starving. They want to be able to buy and sell. They want to be able to get on TikTok, Instagram. They seek the ruler's favor.
It says, but every man's judgment cometh from the Lord.
Whether or not you're on the devil's good side, which the devil don't have a good side, you're still going to have to face the judgment that comes from Yahweh Shah.
Yeah. It says, Proverbs 29 and 27, an unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked.
And that's that conflict.
Yep.
Okay? That's that war. That contrast. And that's what causes what's taking place now. That's why you got people like Vocab coming up, which he was most likely, we believe he was sent by the elites. Okay, that's why they're gonna strike the videos, because what we doing is an abomination to them, and what they doing and trying to establish is an abomination to us.
You want to go into it? You had something you wanted to grab? You finish your precept? Yeah, that was precept.
Thinking about what you said, this is 2 Maccabees 6 and 18. This is Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of well-favored countenance, So this is somebody that was renowned among Israel. And
Yeah.
why did they do that? Because if you get a prominent figure in
Yep.
Israel to bow down, the weaker of our nation is gonna fall right in line.
Yep.
But he had integrity.
Because it's like they call it having role models.
Yep.
You know, he was a role model to the righteous, if you will. Just like you had role models to the wicked at that time. And the same thing is now.
That's right.
It's also known as a slippery slope.
Yeah.
You know, if one person do this, then it's gonna turn into a trickle effect where everybody's doing it.
Also a herd mentality.
Yeah.
It's 2 Maccabees 6:18 from the top. It says Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. So that's a major abomination. So Leviticus lets us know that we're not supposed to eat swine like that.
Right. That lets you know how important it was in the Greek Empire to eat abominable food, sacrificing to idols. Because we just read in 2 Maccabees how it was how for Antiochus' birthday month it was constraint for them to eat abominable food sacrificed to idols. Now it's repeating the same thing with Eleazar, man.
Yep. And that's beautiful too. Just because you went back to it, because when you think about it today's time, because our people still walk around in that same state of mind that they were conditioned to live in back then. To now is they do this shit and they don't think about it. To where they were trying to do it, then like, hell no, I don't eat no shit like that. I don't shit. Dang, they refuse to eat the king's meat. They like, hell no, we ain't eating that shit. We don't. That ain't what we eat. You feel what I'm saying? So where now Jake ain't no pushback from Jake. Jake like shit. They conditioned to do this shit, so that's what the shit. That's the shit that Jake do, and they do it freely. You know what I'm saying? Without it fucking with their conscience. It was like you said, with constraint. Like, hell no, man, I can't do that shit. Even that's what Eleazar was going to. Like, go ahead, it's like,
No, brother, add to you in the spirit. We talk about this all the time, me and this particular brother, how this brother was not careful as the king. You know, like that's the type of boldness that the scriptures talk about. And Wisdom of Solomon, Isaiah 58, we boldly profess these things. But anyway, verse 19 says, but he choosing rather to die gloriously than to live staying with such an abomination, set it forth and came on the floor to the torment.
and see, that's what it is. So he like, like he ain't finna stain. I'm not about to stain my name, stain my honor. I ain't about to do that. You feel what I'm saying? It's a glorious thing to be the children of Israel, to be the apple of the Lord's eye. So why would we stain our honor and living after the abomination that the Lord done freed us from through what through the life of His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahushua, bridging that gap for us to be able to come back to Him. And now to go back, now these motherfuckers finna make everything scarce. They finna cut off the food supply. They finna cut off everything. Like the brother, he was like the Instagram just to goddamn say they like or to be on the good side of the motherfuckers that's ruling this nation. We like, hell nah, we ain't doing that shit. We ain't going back. It ain't shit to go back to. You feel what I'm saying? We rather serve, like he said, he'd rather die. So he gonna go forth you like shit. Well, guillotine, these concentration camps. Go ahead, you got it.
I can add to you because this world will sit up here and tell you to look up to your Malcolm X's, your MLKs, Coretta Scott Kings, and without them you wouldn't have the freedom to do this. Without them you wouldn't have the freedom to vote and this, that, and the third. But the whole time, them was the wicked niggas that was trying to go to the heathens to get license to sin.
Yep.
Right. Them was the niggas of our nation that was held at a high standard that was going to fuck off and leading our people to go to fuck off. Why ain't y'all talking about Eleazar?
Yeah.
Why ain't y'all talking about the ones who stood up for righteousness' sake, man? Why you ain't going into Judas and the Maccabean brothers, bro?
Yep.
Why y'all ain't going back to Matthias?
Yep.
Matthias, and why ain't going back to our forefathers who stood for righteousness and actually died for it, man? To actually be an example of righteousness and holding your integrity for it, man.
Yep, because this the history. Not that shit they teach you in these motherfucking schools, that watered down doctrine, that bullshit and all this. This is the history. This is our history. You feel what I'm saying? But Jake, the white man, wrote that book. No, nigga, that's why the white man took the apocrypha out the book. It's just the mind. That's why he trying to issue out certain things that he trying to issue out, trying to C367, trying to ban the Bible. Why, nigga? Because it's got their downfall in it. And now the prophets got the truth, and they declare the truth throughout the four corners of the earth, and motherfuckers are waking up to it. They're like, hell no. We paid all that money for them niggas not to know it, and now they know it. They say, hell no, we got to put a ban on that. And then once they realize that didn't work, then they going to bring forth the persecution. Like, hell no, we just got to kill them niggas.
I got a quick precept too. It's Matthew 10:28. It says, "Fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul." And the only person capable of doing that is Yahweh. Yahweh Yahweh Shah. There's a scripture that is known in John 5 that Yahweh gave Yahweh Shah power to do all things.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." And that's Yahweh Yahweh Shah. You know that Deuteronomy, what, that 32, 39? I kill, I make alive.
Yeah.
I wound and I heal.
Yep.
So we fear that power. We coming in the stead of Eleazar. We coming in the stead of the prophet before us, who was professing Yahweh Yahweh Shah and whatever message he put on his spirit to declare. And knowing that we could potentially be put to death. You know, we bring it out all the time. You know, during the book of Peter, you know, Nero burnt the city down and blamed the Christians. But the Christians are not you pagan worshipers of Caesar Borgia, Jesus Christ. Hamashiach, that was a derogatory term. You know, there's a story on the Christian Broadcasting Network, the Trinity Broadcasting Network, called the Storykeepers. So Amalek, they know, like they put this shit in the media and they throw glimpses of Christianity to confuse, but that's actually our history. You know, we had to meet up in certain places in secrecy because we being persecuted for teaching the word correctly. You know.
I got one back real quick. This is the book of 2 Maccabees. This is something that you said. This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 7, verse 1. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh and were tormented with scourges and whips.
Right. I don't even mention their names.
Right.
You know, but we could tell based off of the integrity and the spirit and the context clues of the story that this was an Israelite family being persecuted by Edomites, man.
Verse 2, it says, "But one of them that spake first said thus, What wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our father."
Come on, man.
Right. In that way, if I go to the spiritual realm, at least I die in righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I please my heavenly Father, because the scriptures say the Lord is pleased with the death of his saints, roughly paraphrase.
Blessed in the Son of the Lord is the death of his saints.
The water, right. But if I sit up here and commit abomination in the sight of the heavenly Father, right, and then not only do that, but lead my people astray while doing that and live, then I'm spiritually dead. I might as well be physically dead.
Yeah, you know. You like I can't live with myself doing no shit like that. You feel what I'm saying?
And then niggas that do that, they gonna be ashamed in the kingdom. Scriptures tell you that. Yahweh Shah said it. He that breaketh the commandments and teaches men to do likewise, he shall be least in the kingdom.
Yeah.
What? They gonna come back and they gonna feel ashamed.
Yeah, bro, you hear me? And so it's like everything that brother's going into is showing you how Jake became Gentiles. You know what I'm saying? It's not that shit that vocab teaching and that shit they talking about where he trying to teach where all people can make it like the brothers was going into off camera, like all nations can make it. Because all nations ain't gonna make it. Only the elect are gonna make it on this go round. You feel what I'm saying? And then 2/3 when they come back, they gonna come back bearing that shame that the brother was just going into. They gonna come back bearing it in the kingdom of heaven. You know what I'm saying? Enjoying all the things that the Lord said they were enjoying, the promises, just bearing that shame for a short while, because what? All these things will be promised to you on this side. All these things will offer to you on this side. The salvation, the promises, but you didn't want to take heed. You wanted to continue on in the Gentile state of mind, doing the things of the Gentiles, living after these other nations. You got it out. Brother ain't got nothing.
You done?
Yeah. Brother wanted me to grab Jeremiah 5.
24.
God, this book of Jeremiah to the 5, verse 24. It says, neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord, our power, that giveth rain both the former and the latter. In his season, he reserveth unto us the appointed weeks and the harvest. Right, so our people don't go to the Lord. And it says both the former and the latter.
Talk about the two feasts.
Right, yeah, the feast of first fruits and the feast of the last feast was.
What verse you on?
This is verse 24.
What book?
5, Jeremiah 5,
Jeremiah the 5th chapter.
Yeah, that's dealing with the former and the latter rain.
Yeah.
Dealing with the first harvest and the second harvest.
Yeah.
Making a year.
Yeah.
That's what that's going into. You said 5 and 24.
Which ultimately is a representation of this truth, man.
Yeah.
That was given unto us on high.
Yeah, beautiful point. Yep. Keep going.
And if I could add, and not only that, but also representation of benefits.
Yeah.
Because Jake don't fear the Lord, and they not reverencing the Lord. Immediately consider the fact that everything that they receive is from the Lord.
Yeah.
On a spiritual aspect too, that former rain is dealing with the apostles and the prophets that the Lord woke up in that time period back then. And also the latter rain is dealing with the fact that we're coming back standing again in our lots as well.
Kind of, because it go back to what the brother opened up to. He said when he told Jeremiah in Jeremiah 17:4, even thou thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage. So showing you that, Jeremiah was going to discontinue, but the spirit of the prophet is subject to the servant prophet. So in these latter days, he will be he will be given that, he will be restored into that knowledge. Yeah. And what he would do, the same thing he was doing back then, prophesying to the nation of Israel, to return unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua before the destruction, before all these things that the Most High said would happen in these latter days would happen.
And that started with Ababilis. It was he who we believe is Elijah. Pursuing Malachi, the 4th chapter. Pretty much that's when the truth started coming back into the earth. All right, and that could be that latter rain, so to speak, that second awakening, so to speak. All right, the Lord, like it says in the book of Deuteronomy, about he'll pour down his doctrine as a rain, paraphrasing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He said, I will water my best garden. That's all talking about, really the elect, man.
Yep.
Verse 26, for among my people are found wicked men, like the wicked men of the first Maccabees that compelled other Israelites to conform to their enemies. Mm-hmm. It says, they lay wait as he that setteth snares. Mm-hmm. They set a trap, they catch men. Okay, right. So just the heathen and even our own people. They set traps and snares. We laid a fishing hook, but it's not a trap. It's for you to come in and, get this edification of the truth, the 100% truth. But everybody else, they just set snares. They throw the net, and then they drag you into some, some type of destruction.
Right, wickedness. Go ahead.
Because from that Hellenization came other doctrines.
Yes.
Where you had Israelites coming up with other doctrines, that was contrary to the scriptures, and it ended up turning into something known as the hell doctrine that you get today. Mm-hmm. Which is just one example of what the Brother Shemak is talking about, man.
Mm-hmm. I got something to close with. It's 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 3. Because we once, believe it or not, contrary to popular belief, we once was Gentiles. Yep. And the fact that the Lord gave us the truth, the latter rain, if you will, we came out of that state of being Gentiles. Just as certain Israelites did, going back during the time of the ancient Roman Empire, when the apostles was on the scene. Right. They came out of that state of being Gentiles. That's why the letter was written in such manner that they was written. But this 1 Peter 4 and 3, for the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries.
Yep, that's that Bacchus spirit.
I looked up the word revel in the Edemon dictionary. It says riotous merrymaking, also an occasion of this. It says entertainment, revelry, to be disorderly, all right, to make merry. You know, and then that it says noisy mirth. That's the spirit.
Mm.
I was about to say they're in the house of mirth,
Yep.
but it said noisy mirth, so it's a tumult. It's a disturbance.
Yep.
Like they got that old term, disturbing the peace.
Yep.
You know, that Bacchus spirit, like the brothers mentioned, that loud music. You ever, even at the end of the street, there's a damn club, and you step inside, you can't even hear a conversation you have with somebody in front of you.
Boy.
You know what I'm saying? But it's full of just loud music and
Frolic.
drinking and frolicsome behavior.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so like even so
No,
like
bring back verse 3.
kind
So like, bring back start at 1.
1 Peter 4:1, it says, "For as much then as Hamashiach hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind, for he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin."
So likewise, we're gonna go through the same thing Yahushua went through. All right, keep going.
That he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of the Most High.
And that's what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to live the rest of his time that you got here on the earth. All right, to the lust. To the will of God. They want you to do it to the lust of men. You know, they dealing with this Gentile topic, man. All right. Keep reading because it's gonna mention it. Verse 4. Yeah. Okay.
It says,
Okay.
It says, "For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries."
Yeah, man. Literally that Hellenized state. You know, before we were enlightened into this knowledge and understanding, you know, we were given right over to the flesh, celebrating holidays. You know what I'm saying? Everything that the brother named,
Pork, shrimp.
Yeah, we was partaking in it, man. Okay.
Verse 4, "Wherein they think it strange
Yep.
that you run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you."
Right. So here it is. Now that you no longer want to partake in the lust of men, all right, Slakia, to live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lusts of men, all right, and trying to follow a more righteous path, they think you're strange. You know, your name is cast out as evil. Okay. You know, they speak evil of you, so to speak, all because you no longer want to participate in the same shit that was causing you to be destroyed anyway. You know, it's like a light went off in your head. You knew that was a path to destruction, all right, and you no longer want to deviate down that path. It's like that old picture where you got the multitude going one way and you branch off and you going another way. You see what I'm saying? But the multitude, that's why Scripture say, follow not a multitude to do evil, because they're going to go down a path of destruction, man.
And if I could add to you too, it lets you know how much damage the Hellenization has done, because 2/3 of our people think it's strange for it to convert back to righteousness. That lets you know that a majority of our people has normalized the Hellenization, man, and has normalized basically the wickedness that has been befalling our people.
Yep. And so it's just like just to add, because it's just like going into like that light went off. That's why I tell you Isaiah 49:6 say gonna be a light into the Gentiles. That's why. To call them out of the darkness, to call them out of the way of the Gentiles, to call them from walking after the abominations of this present evil wicked world that we live in, and come back into the glorious light of Yahweh Shema. The scriptures say, if this gospel be hidden, it's hidden to them that are lost. You know what I'm saying? And go ahead, Spawn, you got it.
Because then with verse 1, he said, the latter part of that verse said, "For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin." And I wanted to just really hone in on this is really the fruit of sin, of wickedness. You know, being Hellenized, falling away, discontinuing from our heritage, being put under the captivity of the Gentiles, the heathens that ruling over us. This is ultimately the fruit of wickedness running rampant in the earth. You know, really going all the way to Genesis. You see what I'm saying? Because this was all a part of the punishment that we was going to go through pursuing the Deuteronomy 28. When you read, and there's the spirit that the elder Yaki and elder Ratada Wine was going into this. When you read Deuteronomy 28 in the first 14 verses, it's the blessings that if we will hearken unto Yahweh Shem Shall will receive. And then from 15 on down, all right, it mentions the curses. And so this is really just the curses that had to play out, man. And when the Lord judges, he doesn't just judge you individually, he don't judge us as a nation. And so we went from captivity to captivity. You know, 7 different Edomite empires right now. We in the last one, but 7 different Edomites, starting with the Greeks. That's why they say civilization started with the Greeks, but that's not true. All right. However, That was the first time we went not into captivity as a whole, because we went to captivity under the Egyptians first, but under the Edomites, man.
Right.
You know, even up until this present day. All right. You know, y'all brothers know the set ahead, the beast and Revelation.
Yeah.
All right, the Germanium major, minor, the French, the Spanish. All right, Rome. Who I'm missing? The Greeks, the water. All right, and Britain, like the brother mentioned. All right, you know, these different empires. All right, that had a hegemony over, so to speak.
So Lord willing, we hope to pray this edifying through the Spirit. Closing, we'll give all honor, praise, and glory to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakodash.
double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, where we learned this truth from and may peace, mercy, and blessings be upon the hopeful elect that believe in this truth and sincerity. The next time we say, Kwame Yashari.
Shalom. Shalom.
Bye.
Bye.